Stereo, the heartbeat of Alaska.
Welcome to Patriot Lament. My name is Joshua Bennett. We'll be here the next 2 hours in the studio. Got Mr. Mike Anderson. Good morning, Michael. Morning. Unfortunately, this is not a theme song for many Americans these days, Michael, but I think folks there in Catalonia, they're probably blurring that song out. Quick news thing here. So, Catalonia in Spain has been getting pretty beat up the last few years, even without the corona, and they've been under pretty harsh lockdown. A little bit of freedoms, a little bit of not.
Mostly not.
Mostly not. And now they're putting them, again, wanting to lock them down for another 8 months or something stupid. And the people are just like, ain't gonna have it. Nope. So there's some major pushback there against the government. I
Mm-hmm.
noticed in their riots, Mike, I wouldn't even call it a riot. I'd say in their revolts,
Mm-hmm.
they don't burn down Walmart, Target,
Right.
Fred Meyer's. They seem to just focus on the entity that is actually doing harm to them.
Just burn down the government buildings.
Yeah.
Well, but they remember before all this started, they were already working or trying to secede from the rest of Spain,
Yep.
and then Spain squashed that. So this is another opportunity, I guess.
Pretty harsh. I mean, they squashed it pretty harshly too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good luck to those folks. Hope they stay safe.
Yeah.
And if we jump around the world here, I better remember we're on YouTube. You can go to YouTube, search Patriot Lament. We'll pop up on there. You're listening to us on 660 KFAR and also on 97.5 on the FM dial, which is much better for listening to rock and roll songs. We'll get to the sponsors and stuff at the top of the hour. So I'm sure you saw where in the UK they're talking about what their Christmas time Corona things are going to be or whatever.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're telling them they shan't have too many people at their place, and they shan't sing songs. No, singing songs is California. Can't do this, can't do that. If you have too many people, we're going to break down the door and disrupt this violent congregation of Christmas peoples. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like a year ago. Would you have ever thought that would happen anywhere in the Western world?
Nope.
No. So what is it that could happen a year from now? Do you dare to guess?
I'm sure we will here soon.
Well, yeah, we'll know soon.
Yeah, just amazing that they're actually, we will do this. And California, I've heard a couple different things on whether or not it was true, but thing in California where it's same, only 2 families, or is it 3 families, but it has to be immediate family, no guest, social distancing. Some of them are still saying to wear a mask in the house. Bunch of morons. And California was interesting because no loud singing.
Can they do quiet singing though? Can they hum?
Well, so is the singing part just so if the coronavirus is asleep, you don't wake it up? Oh.
Well, I think you're supposed to. You probably have to sing with your eyes closed too, because looking at people now can spread coronavirus. Remember, you're not supposed to look at anyone else. Make sure you stay 6 feet away. Always wear your burqa and don't look anyone in the eye. That's the rules that they profess. So if you're gonna sing, you need to do it with your eyes closed. Don't look at anyone.
Mask on.
Or mask on, yeah. And only sing quietly.
And I'm sure if you're playing the piano, you need to disinfect the piano for every person that gets on after.
Yeah.
You don't want that. No sharing of instruments. Let's just keep it. It's too dangerous to rely on people to clean up after themselves. We need to make it a rule.
Yeah.
Make it law.
Well, how far do people have to get pushed before they finally refuse? It's like I was in Fred Meyer 2 nights ago, and I was the only one in there without a burqa on, and there've been other times that 40% or so didn't have a burqa on.
Yep.
So what's going on? Why these fluctuations?
I don't know. It's frustrating how scared people are. I guess, we could have never imagined they would go this far. How far can you be pushed? I think how scared can people be? Because that's all any of this is, just fear. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, Americans kind of sit on their laurels, let's say, because we had a revolution, liberty and justice for all, and freedom and stuff and things, and just kind of taking credit for stuff that was done a couple hundred years ago, and assuming that you have the same fortitude or quality to say that that's also your victory.
Yeah,
without needing any victories of your own.
Yeah, and that's also the was actually your brother who pointed it out that the Second Amendment, how much it has done to harm our liberties, because people have their guns and they believe as long as they have their gun, they're free, and so they never actually use them for what they were meant for. But
no, it's just as long as you have one. It's just as long as you have one, Mike. It doesn't matter what it's used.
Yeah, they can come and take your kids. You're free. You got a gun. Don't have my kids anymore, but I got my gun.
Yeah, when they come, you're like, ooh, you come get my guns? No, just take your kids.
Oh, that's okay. Good. That's good.
Man, I'm not gonna post about this on Instagram as soon as you leave.
Well, that's the advertising, though. That's the create the illusion that people are free by allowing them to keep a tool that they're never going to use.
Yeah, I mean, we've said that for a long time, I guess. That, the American government has no reason to confiscate American citizens' guns.
Right.
Because why instigate something when your slaves are doing everything that you tell them to do anyways? So why stir the pot?
Right. And, let's think, Fairbanks, in 2015, Fairbanks North Star Borough was rated as the number one most heavily armed county in the U.S. And it's still way up there, number 2 or 3. I don't remember now. But if you look at, let's take Antifa /BLM. If there were riots going on here, do you imagine people would put up with Antifa violating their property in Fairbanks? Probably not.
Probably not.
So, but the state can dress up in costumes and come and do the same thing. Take your kids out of the house and they're just left impotent. All because there's an image of legitimacy to it. They can take your money, they can take your property, and the founders, they laughed at the idea of the the king being able to take their property or to tax their property. That was laughable to them. They actually laughed about it in the meetings. But it's just normal today. Oh, we gotta pay the property tax, or we won't have this, or we won't have that. And but Antifa could come along, set themselves up as a legitimate, quote legitimate government, right? And given a generation, or given a year probably, people will look at them as the new government, and they can come and take whatever they wish. And it is legitimate because they have a costume.
It they kind of did this year in Seattle when they took over those few blocks of the city, kicked everyone out and said, "This is ours."
Yeah, Chad.
Had their own little fiefdom there.
Yeah, and so then you had the old government fighting against the new government, and just like the Soviet Union, same story. A bunch of gangbangers steals people's property, and they become the legitimate government.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's just the same thing could happen with something like Antifa.
Legitimate, I like that.
Yeah. So there's actually a very short window that you can put a stop to it before people just start recognizing it. It's kind of like the masks. A year ago, no one would think that's legit. Now almost everyone thinks it's legit.
Yep. Oh, we made fun of people. I mean, Americans would make fun of the Chinese and whatever. Her, 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 her. Look at,
Yeah.
And we all knew it was culturally. A lot of it was because of, or most of it was because of the air quality in like Beijing and stuff like that is unbearable.
Right.
They wear the mask for nothing, and Americans being the deep thinkers that they are weren't able to equate that. They just see masks like, oh, virus, mask. The Chinese know how to handle them.
Right. Well, yeah, and as Dave pointed out several weeks ago, the Chinese started wearing them just to mimic the Americans, what they did during the 1918 flu.
Yeah.
And it was status. It didn't actually do anything because the subsequent studies showed that it did nothing to curb the spread of the flu then. And you pointed out, I think 2 weeks ago, the Chinese study found that when it comes to the fabric masks that you see, at least probably half the people wearing, they're only 2% efficient at filtering out something that's twice the size of a coronavirus. Well, that's in a controlled experiment where the rag that they're using is draped over and sealed over the
perfectly.
Over the testing device. But that's not the case with what you have on your face. And what you have on your face has all these gaps around it. There's no seal at all, and there's no reason that anyone should think they work, and I don't know why I'm even going over this again. We've gone over it 100 times. They don't even use a logical thought process to decide if the tyranny that they're being put under even makes sense. Every tyranny that's ever came along with a good excuse. Every single one of them.
And so it's for the greater good.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter if it's logical. All it matters is that there's a claim that they're trying to help you.
Yeah.
Just a claim. It doesn't have to make any sense.
Right. Well, it's kind of like with the with your face mask or whatever. They say to follow science, but it's actually turned into follow what we say, because science should normally back things up with studies.
Right. And
the pro-mask wearing thing has not been backed up by any studies.
No,
and the results of long-term, the effects, the ill effects, harmful effects of long-term mask wearing hasn't been studied enough. Well, today there are studies that show, what I'm saying is there's no positive in the long-term ill effects. It's all negative. There are long-term bad effects that happen to you from long-term mask wearing. They're seeing things that they didn't even know that could happen before with people with what they call mask mouth now. And there's I don't remember what the percentage was, but the percentage of people having bacterial pneumonia has skyrocketed just recently, and they say it's from the mask.
Right. Well, remember Fauci wrote a paper in 2009, which went over the pneumonia cases in the 1918 flu, and they were mostly bacterial pneumonia.
Right. Yep.
So
so there's always we have all this info saying they don't work, and mandating them or whatever gives people a false sense of security that they shouldn't have. We shouldn't rely on these. We shouldn't give the pretense that this is something that's good. You have OSHA that's had all these studies and everything. This isn't right, and proper protection is this PPE. But then someone says, we think you should wear a mask now. Okay, based on what?
right.
Based on what? They don't base it on anything. They just say, okay, I think we should wear one now. Oh, well, what about all these studies that say they don't work? Yeah, well, don't worry about that.
Yeah, and if you ask them, if an interviewer asks them that on a news broadcast, they bumble around and spout nonsense, and their claim makes no sense whatsoever, but they filled some time, and somehow they've convinced people that, they should wear it now.
Yep.
Because Fauci said at the beginning of this, masks will not do anything.
Yep.
And then later on, he's tried to say, well, we were just lying to people to try to get them not to use them so that there would be more left for health workers. So Either way, Fauci is a liar.
Well, and we have this thing where we believe. Yeah, he's a liar.
Well, they're all liars. Either way, they're all liars.
It's just so irritating. So irritating. Somebody that says he's an authoritative voice, and you just automatically, if you think we have time to think now about all these things that came along, right? At the time, it was like, okay, like 6 feet. Where did that come from?
Well, there was actually an article about that.
That was from a second
on
grader.
RPI. A sixth grader. Sixth grader. Yeah. And her father was friends with someone in the CDC. And so they played around with this science project that she had done, and
school project,
right? And was it Michael Chertoff they were connected to? I think it was Michael Chertoff. I can't remember now. We'll have to pull up the article maybe and sometime cover it. But yeah, the whole idea of 6 feet came from a sixth grader science project, and her dad was friends with someone in the top of the CDC.
All right. Do you people hear what Michael just said? The whole 6 feet distance, social distancing, literally came from a sixth grade classroom in a little competition. And a sixth grade girl made up the 6 feet social distance rule, and the CDC adopted it. And that is the truth. There's nothing scientific behind it.
No, there's not. Especially when you consider the other studies state that a coronavirus can travel 27 feet if you sneeze.
Right. And then you have some states saying, 1 meter or 1.5 meters or 2 meters. There's never this, how do you get total arbitrary number of 6 feet?
Right. But, maybe...
That's good science, though. Sixth grade competition.
Yeah.
So, see, now we can look back and see how foolish it is. At the time, everyone kind of went along with it. But, folks, now we have a lot more information about the whole thing. We have information on how these mandates were instituted. So now we can think a little more slowly. We can slow down, calm down a little bit, and actually look at all this stuff and go, okay, sixth grader made up 6 foot social distancing. Maybe that's a lot of crap. Let's see. Masks have always been known, especially the cloth masks that everyone's working. They don't do anything. Have a 2% efficiency rating from the CDC. But all of a sudden, we're telling you it works now, so you just put them on automatically and say, yeah, they work, instead of asking, what's the science? I mean, at least the 6 feet social distancing came from a science competition in 6th grade. So, you can, if you want to base your life around 6th grade science, there you go. But the masks don't have anything to back it up. Right.
Well, they do have science to back, the masks do have science to back them up, but not for what everyone thinks.
Right.
there is plenty of science that shows that the face is what people connect with initially, and by covering that up, you prevent them from associating with each other. There's also science to show that it increases the violence rate by up to 50% among people whose faces are covered, and it's also a great psychological tool to force submission. So there is science behind the mask, and that's why it's been used for hundreds of years for shaming people, for putting them in positions of submittance, for getting them to disassociate with each other. The Puritans would put a mask on women's faces. It was a metal mask to keep as a shaming device to keep them to make them shut up. And I'm not trying to be vulgar. That's actually why they put them on there, on women. The mask has always been used by totalitarian societies, to force people into submission. And maybe it would be maybe it would be a good thing if America was going more in the direction of what Spain is doing. Maybe it would force a revolt. Maybe they're just not being harsh enough to force the revolt here yet.
Yeah. Maybe it's too hard to break the bond that says your government is your God.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They need to get kicked just a little bit harder. You need to get whipped just a little bit harder so you can say, wait a minute, these people don't love me.
Right. Yeah, but how hard do they have to get whipped?
So far, pretty
good.
Yeah. I was just trying to find this. So Joe Biden, what I was looking for was his, the guy's name. Joe Biden's advisor for the Rona. He wants to do, if Biden's elected, this guy wants immediate national mask mandate and a national lockdown immediately.
Okay. Right.
So when the Joe says, I don't even know where I am, and I'm racing against old Jack over there, and for the United States toilet changer, and I think I'll just do whatever the scientists tell me to do. We'll follow the science. Well, his science guy that he's going to follow is mandatory mask mandate, mandatory lockdown. So that's what's coming if that jackass gets elected.
And that would be federal.
Yeah.
That'd probably end up going through the Supreme Court stuff if that happened. And I think for example,
but I think a lot of states in the very beginning would enforce it.
It would get enforced for a while until it made its way to the Supreme Court or the circuit courts. So I think the Eighth Circuit Court ruled, was it this week? I think that they Minnesota cannot send out any more mail-in ballots because the Constitution does not have a pandemic exception.
Ah, interesting. None of them do.
Right. So yeah, something like that. If he were to try that, would probably get struck down. Eventually. But it would, it would still take a while.
Even though the gal that they just got appointed to the Supreme Court, she's already been put to the test on this matter, and she found in favor of the government lockdown.
Now, was that the vote she skipped on, though?
I thought she didn't.
I think she skipped a vote, and that might have been it. She had made some. There's one vote she skipped, and it's probably that one that, as someone knows, I guess I think Colin lets know. Anyway, her excuse was that she'd just been appointed, and that because of the controversies going on, she didn't think it was the right time to issue her first vote.
Right.
Which I think is bogus. At what other job? At what other job do you start the job and just say, well, I don't think I should do it because it's just not the appropriate time.
Right.
Unless you haven't been trained or haven't been trained up well enough, but she has been.
Or she shouldn't be there in the first place. Which
right.
She shouldn't. None of them should be. Anyways, all right. Well, we got to hit the break here. We'll be back after the news and a couple commercials. We'll open the phone lines at 907-458-8255. When we come back, we'll open the phones. This is Patriot Lament. We'll be right back.
News and conversation. KFAR 660 AM Fairbanks. K248DK 97.5 FM Fairbanks. The heartbeat of Alaska.
Blanketing the swing states. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. The presidential campaign's out in force today with just 3 days before the election. President Trump has 4 rallies in Pennsylvania. Speaking in Newtown, he again criticized opponent Joe Biden's record.
At the debate, I looked at him and said, Joe, you were here for 47 years and you left only 3.5 years ago. Why didn't you do these things that you want done? Why didn't you fix it, Joe?
The president's next event in Reading, Pennsylvania. Former VP Joe Biden campaigning with former President Obama in Michigan today with a rally this hour in Flint. Democratic vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris at an event in Miami, again blasting the president's COVID response.
We know he knew back on January 28th that this virus could kill people at 5 times the rate of the flu. We know he knew that it would impact people of every age. He knew it was airborne.
Harris has 2 other Florida rallies today. Vice President Mike Pence is campaigning in North Carolina. Navy SEAL Team 6 carries out a daring early morning raid in Nigeria to save a kidnapped American citizen. They rescued 27-year-old Philip Walton. President Trump commented on the raid earlier this morning, calling it a tremendous event.
And it was something that had to get done because they were playing with American citizens. We can't let that happen.
Several captors were killed in the operation, which was launched to prevent them from collecting ransom or selling Walton to a terrorist organization. Tributes flooding in after the death of James Bond actor Sean Connery. Actor Daniel Craig, the most recent Bond, says Connery defined an era and a style. Connery was 90. America is listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network. Stay on top of the latest news and information from Fox News. Listen and download the Fox News Hourly Update on your time. The trending stories you need anytime you want it. Listen and download now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. This Election Day, America is listening to Fox News Radio for complete coverage. Starting at 6 p.m. East, it's The Campaign with Brett Baer and Perino and Steyerwalt. I'll tell you what. Followed by live Democracy 2020 coverage led by national correspondent Jared Halpern, political analyst Josh Krausar, and Fox News Radio reporters from around the...
Don't let anyone tell you differently. 2020's global pandemic devastated Fairbanks. Unemployment, crime, decreased funding at UAF. Throughout it all, legislative leadership failed us. That's why August's primary saw record incumbent defeats. Representative Adam Wool is the poster child for legislative failure. Wool was lenient on sex offenders, property crimes, and drug offenses. He chose criminals over victims. Wool helped lead a House majority that closed caucuses and met privately. He wasn't transparent. Don't let the wool be pulled over your eyes again. Fairbanks can do better with real leadership. Kevin McKinley can lead Fairbanks back into prosperity. He'll be here for Fairbanks because he's one of us. Let's get leadership back. Vote Kevin McKinley for State House. Paid for by Alaskans for Kevin McKinley Fairbanks.
Hi, this is Adam Wool. Kevin McKinley and his special interest backers are running a misleading smear campaign and saying things that just aren't true. The truth is, I voted for new tough-on-crime legislation to punish sex offenders and keep murderers behind bars, and also increase penalties for theft and C felonies. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Alaska State Troopers, firefighters, and public safety workers. I've supported budget increases to public safety, and I support reducing recidivism. I'd rather invest in schools than build new prisons. Which is why Kevin McKinley is running such a misleading campaign. He wants to distract you from his support for crippling cuts to UAF. While I've been fighting hard to reverse the cuts and bring jobs back to Fairbanks, Kevin admitted he supports the cuts UAF has taken over the last 5 years, and he supports cutting UAF even more. No wonder he'd rather make up things about me than stick to the issues. I'm Adam Wool. You can count on me to keep fighting for UAF and Fairbanks jobs and for public safety. Remember, vote Wool, no Bull.
Paid for by Adam Wool for State House.
Election 2020 is a contest between the free market principles that made America great and socialism. Socialism has failed every place it's been tried, every one. Here in Fairbanks, this election is critical to our local future. If Democrats control the House, you will see new taxes, more state spending, and less resource development to pay for it. If Republicans control the House, you will see more money left in your hands, a cap on state spending, and resource development to create new wealth and new opportunities. In District 4, Grier Hopkins is on the tax and spend team. Keith Kerber is on the personal freedom team that will leave more money in your pocket. Let freedom ring. Vote Keith Kerber for State House.
I'm Keith Kerber, and this was paid for by Friends of Keith Kerber, Box 82106, Fairbanks. Hi folks, Ralph Seekins here, Seekins Ford Lincoln. With hundreds of cars and trucks here or on the way, it's the start of our year-end model clearance event. What it means for you? 0% financing on almost all across the line, plus an additional $1,000 Ford cash incentive on select SUVs, plus our own dealer cash incentive. In short, more ways to treat you right. Add it up, we will meet or beat any legitimate deal from anywhere in the USA right now, right here at Seekins Ford Lincoln, and I'll see you here.
In 1982, Governor Jay Hammond signed the permanent fund dividend into law. Robert Myers believes the legislature should obey that law and pay every Alaskan a full PFD. When the borough voted on paying a full PFD, here's what Marna Sanford said.
Quite frankly, I don't care what Jay Hammond said. His time has passed. Let's not just throw money out there. Let's not just throw money away.
Wow. Don't elect Marna to represent you. Vote for Robert Myers. He'll fight in Juneau for your PFD.
Paid for by Myers for Alaska.
All right, welcome back to Patriot Lament. The great Van Halen. You know, I was sure glad when those last commercials were over, because that about drove me nuts. Hearing all this garbage.
It'd be nice after a Tuesday, huh?
I love the way they do the music too, because when they're talking about their opponent, it's like, you know, the Imperial March on Star Wars. Dun, 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 dun.
Should I be able to hear you?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Got a throttle.
I hear the music. I don't hear you.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's coming through the thing. I can see it. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, I love how the music is. My opponent. You know, like you got to get this like demonic thought about this guy, and then it swings over. But our dude, Mr. Whoever I am, and then the music gets all pretty and or you know, like romantic or really. You know, the Star Wars theme song, dun, 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 you know, I'm the hero. And they're all a bunch of jokers. There's not one of them or some kind of Superman. I mean, it just drives you nuts. You know, and it also kind of drives you nuts to think that they're sitting there making these commercials about their ads about themselves. It's like kind of narcissistic, or I don't know, something kind of weird about that. But when I'm in there, by golly, take care of business. And then, of course, the one guy, all he can talk about is, when I get in there, I'm going to fight for your dividend. Fight for the whole thing. shut up, you little socialist person. God, I can't stand it.
Yeah.
That's
They're all wonderful, and
America
the
sucks.
and the other guy is always birthed by the devil himself,
Yeah.
right? No matter who it is.
It's kind of like I saw something on Biden this morning. And it says, when did he start? Like 1973 or something like that. And you know, and it year by year lists. You know, here he is, and it gets down to you know, we're up in the 90s now, and then we're almost there. We're almost there. On down. It's 2020. Now I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got all the experience I need now.
Now I'm going to fix it. Yeah, right.
I'm the most qualified because I've been here the longest.
Yeah.
Sitting back watching to see what's going to happen. He's been in politics since I've been alive.
Really?
Yeah. Same year, 73.
Mm-hmm.
I've not known life without Joe.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in office before I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are making me feel old.
Well, you are. You are, Rick. Yeah. Phone number is 907-458-8255. You know, the saddest part about those ads is that there's people listening going, yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy. I'm going to blow through him really hard.
Yeah. Well, if you actually look, if you want to look at the you know, the so-called do nothing history of Biden, maybe we prefer that he won.
Yeah, except I think he plans on doing something now.
He plans, well, yeah. See, well,
his
actually,
handlers do.
he plans on allowing the people around him to do something, and that's what we don't want, right?
I kind of think that's the way it's
But maybe
been for
we do
some
want
time, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
the president hasn't. I mean, we know, Biden, when Obama was in there, you know, it was his handlers that did everything. I mean, he didn't get into that office.
George W. Bush.
George Bush. Oh yeah.
That was pretty obvious. He was running that show.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like I said last segment, maybe having someone in that would push the tyranny more would be better.
Well, you remember,
push a pendulum as far to the left as you can, so you can swing it back.
That was when Wenzel's thought on Trump versus Hillary back in 2016. Was he said, you know, the conservatives would get lulled to sleep with Trump because they got their guy, so he's got their back, so he can just kind of sleep away the next 4 years. And Hillary would have got everyone, you know, rallied behind getting rid of Hillary. Hating Hillary would have been very.
And the other point he made was that all the people who had been swayed by Ron Paul were then, you know, they moved over to Trump basically, right. And as you said, they become lazy or whatever. You know, they just sat back instead of being spurred. But I saw that he'd also made the point that he doesn't think that's the same case now.
This time, right.
This time, because. Well, it's gone, because what happened is Trump did the opposite of what Hillary would have done. He excited the left-wing masses and brought all this out, you know, against him, you know, raising that up. And so they're the ones that have been really spurred.
Right.
And now, you know, I personally don't want to see that accelerated or, you know, become the accepted government.
Right. It is interesting that Wenzel's take this time is now this. He's too dangerous. We don't need to spur anyone. Biden's too and Biden's not too dangerous. Who he has behind him is too dangerous.
That's it exactly. Yeah, because the guy has always been a pretty moderate Democrat.
Right. He's just there for the ching-ching.
And now he's had to, you know, that's one of the reasons why he's making so many mistakes in his public addresses and stuff. It's like anytime he's asked a question, he has to stop and think, is this my policy or their policy? You know, the policy I have accepted.
Yeah.
You know, the Bernie Sanders wing. You know, yeah. So it's kind of a.
Well, his personal job in the Senate has always been to collect as much lobby and bribe money as he can. And so if you're dealing with big corporations doing that, you don't want to take a heavy ideological position that could turn off whoever it is trying to bribe you or lobby you or whatever it might be.
That's why Trump's the perfect politician, because he doesn't know what ideology is. I've heard of that.
I heard something the other day that his father was heavily into the John Birch Society.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Yep. He was a Bircher. Old Fred Trump.
So you'd think, Donald J. would have some kind of a grounding in not necessarily freedom, but in, the John Birchers were...
Anti-state, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still around.
Yeah. Trump doesn't talk about it at all. He did make the comment that one time that he donated to both sides, because then you can call him up for a favor. So.
Right. I think that's when he was going against Hillary. And,
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
and
that was last.
And he was saying that, he knows how Washington works. You pay off both sides and grease the skids, so to speak.
Yeah, rather than burning the bridges, you keep the bridges in good repair.
Right.
So the money can flow across them both ways.
I mean, wasn't he in the picture with at Hillary's daughter's wedding? And
yeah,
I think he was for Chelsea's wedding.
And I think the Clintons were at his wedding too.
So
yeah, I mean they were
a game show, man.
Yeah, they were friends back then at least.
Just a game show.
Oh yeah, I saw one the other day where it was I think it was Boehner and Schumer or some a couple of the big. They're supposed to be fighting against each other all the time, and as soon as the camera's off them, they're sitting there joking and hey, good hey, good on you, and just like they're the greatest of friends.
Yeah.
And they are.
Absolutely, they are. Yeah. Let's hit the phones, guys. If you want to join us, it's 907-458-8255. Hello, caller. You are the first one up today.
Hi, this is Randy.
Hello, Randy.
Yeah, it's looking kind of likely that Biden-Harris will get in there. I mean, I hope not, but that's kind of how it looks. And I'm afraid that they are serious about packing the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has had 9 members for over 150 years, and the last time they tried to pack it was when Democrat FDR, President Franklin Roosevelt, tried to pack it in 1937. But I think that they may definitely try to do that in 2020. They're talking about that. The only thing that can stop them from packing it is if the slim Republican majority in the Senate is maintained. And my theory is that's why they're moving heaven and earth. Well, not heaven, but they're pumping tons. The left-wing groups on the left coast are pumping tons of millions of dollars into key Senate races, including here in Alaska, because they want to flip the Senate. So that's why I'm hoping that our good Senator Dan Sullivan will stay in the Senate and be the one final check against Biden having a free hand to do whatever he wants to do.
Okay. Thank you, Randy.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, court packing.
I don't know.
It won't be easy for them to do.
Yeah. You can't put 100 judges in there at a time, can you? Have to wait for one to leave.
Even Roosevelt didn't have an easy time, and he was basically a king.
Well, isn't that one of the open spots of the Constitution is that there isn't really anything stated in there about how many justices?
No.
I think that there was only, 3 justices when they first started?
Yeah, and then 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't even, necessarily meet together. There were judges that, they made several rulings independent of each other. Just the most important stuff went all 3 of them.
So,
they were regular
technically,
judges.
there's nothing stopping them from packing the courts.
No, but it'd be a big political, hoopla to get through.
Could probably
It'd be
ask
a
the court
lot of fighting over that.
You'd have to ask the court to decide the constitutionality of whether they can be expanded or not.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of fighting over that. But people have been, It's like every election, someone is concerned over court packing, and it never happens.
Yeah, my concerns are.
Well, the Democrats seem to get concerned about it because they're saying, oh, it's all these conservatives being put on the court, and it's going to swing. There goes Roe v. Wade, et cetera.
And then it never happened.
They've been saying that since I can remember too.
Yeah, well, I don't know why they continually do that, because you see all the justices that get on there do not necessarily swing conservative at all.
No.
But that have been put on, and vice versa.
Yep.
It's so what was it, Kavanaugh Judge Kavanaugh just came out on the side of letting the mail-in ballots be counted for up to 9 days after the election.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, he's supposed to be the conservative judge, that was put on there by Trump, and that would be considered not to be in the conservatives' favor.
Right.
Yeah.
So if he really was,
and the left tried really hard to keep him off with the supposed rape allegations that had no evidence, and now he's sided on their side.
Yeah, and I feel the same way with this Amy Coney Barrett. I think she's going to be the same, just like John Roberts and these people. They'll make up whatever
whatever they feel like it.
Yeah, I was reading this story where it was a fictional story, but it was basically about John Roberts and how a certain person in the administration, in the Obama administration, had pictures of him back in his college days in a compromised position, and basically that's what they do. They get dirt on you.
Yeah.
They set you up with honey traps or whatever, or the other, or some kind of bribery, money. It's either money or some kind of sexual thing they get people involved in, and then they hold that over, and you vote the way they want you to vote.
Yeah. They're all compromised anyways. And I've always thought, with the Republicans talking about it all the time with abortion and things like that. It's like, well, there was a few years there where you owned the presidency with Bush, you owned the House by a pretty good margin, you own the Senate, which you only have to have one in that one to own it, and you supposedly had the Supreme Court, and abortion never was touched, never was brought up.
Never even came up on the block.
No, absolutely not. They're not going to get rid of that money cow that they have saying that they're anti-abortion, and they're going to stop it and get rid of it. Yeah. Or overturn Roe v. Wade. They're never going to actually do it because it generates too much income. It's just like what most people think, and I do, why we'll never get a cure for cancer, because there's too much money in studying cancer cures. It's like $20 billion a year. Well, who's going to give up that cash?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that feel that the medical industry does not cure, they treat.
Right. Prolong.
That's what the money is in.
It's basically, get a few more days out of it. We can extend you for a few more days because it benefits them. It doesn't benefit them for you to get well at all. It doesn't really benefit them for you to croak either. But if they can keep you going on their stuff where you're dependent on them as long as possible, that works out pretty dang good. Because you're actually getting paid to figure out how to keep people on your line. It's a great job. Let's let that sink in there.
So callous, though.
It is. But it's what's happening, I think. I might be wrong. I doubt it. Hello, caller. You're up next.
Good morning. This is Lee.
Good morning, Lee. How are you today?
Well, Randy made a comment that was right on, and then he corrected it. That something about religion and or heaven, and I believe that what's going on right now is they're trying to take away our belief in heaven. That they being the Black Lives Matter or Antifa or the combination or the group that's on the extreme left, they literally are trying to make our heaven go away, because a belief in that is verboten in their vernacular.
Yeah.
And you made a comment about the John Birch Society being anti-establishment. I think a more accurate depiction of that organization, and I haven't had any connection with it here in a lot of years. I was a very young boy when my dad was a member of it, and Dick Randolph was one of the big pushers of that group. I would say they were more anti-communist than they were anti-establishment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I mean, that wasn't a fair statement by you guys, saying they were just anti-establishment. And everybody, even you guys didn't seem to think very positively about them. And you look at where we are today, and my contention is their guys was right on. And that because this communist thing isn't anything that's brand new this week. It's been around for a tremendous number of decades, and they're making another stab at controlling the United States of America. And so, for whatever it's worth, I think accolades should be laid on the throne of John Birch and the group that pushed that for so many years. And here we are, we're bad-mouthing them, and they're taking over. I mean, the communists are about ready to take this country over.
I would agree with that. Part of my, this is Rick, by the way, part of my, I guess, bias with John Birch comes from when I was a kid. They were just lambasted in the press and everything, and I remember even my parents, oh my, those people are so right wing,
Yep.
And
yep.
So there's some of that latent there in my thinking, but I know what you're talking about. I've done some reading and research on that, and they were very anti-communist. That I think you're right. That was their main thrust.
Yeah, that was. I mean, again, it's been 50 years, or nearly 50 years since my dad had any interaction with that group, and I went to some of their meetings with him, of course. But hell, I was 10, 12, 15 years old, and I just tagged along as a young kid, not deciding whether to join them or not join them or support them or be against them. But my recollections were that it's a shame that they were viewed in such a negative light then, even then.
Yeah.
And here we are today. They were a hell of a lot more right than they were wrong or correct or whatever the word is that we can't use any of those words today, I guess. So we can't even have this conversation. But anyway, that's my input, was that this group is certainly a communist run or organized with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and they go back decades and decades into their history, and now they've got some serious followers, and they're having a major impact on our politics. And I think I'll even say a very negative impact. And you're bad-mouthing this packing the court thing. Boy, I mean to tell you, it's a different psyche in that left, in the Democrats and the left wing of our government. I mean, the radical extremes have taken over. So to poo-pah, I mean, they're talking about doing it, and to just dismiss that as just foolish talk, I think that makes anybody making.
Are you listening to the same show that I'm doing? Because we just blasted it, and what we weren't bad mouthing the John Birchers either. I don't know.
No, but
the
tone of your voice wasn't very endearing to the John Birch Society.
Well, I think the John Birchers are anti-communist statists. So how you like that? They
Well, that's
still
fine.
stand and they do their Pledge of Allegiance and they bow to a flag and do all that kind of stuff. And I don't believe in that. So I'm glad
Well,
they're anti-communist. I am too.
maybe you will bow to the Biden regime when they come looking for your guns, and they will.
What's that have to do with what's that have to do with the John Birch Society?
Well, I'm not connecting Biden to the John Birch Society at all. I mean, don't we have the ability to change topic?
Oh, sure. Okay. But I'm definitely not going to be bowing to no flag of Joe Biden.
Well,
I'm just
you'd
not
like
sure
to
how
think,
that'd come up.
Well, you'd like to think not, but when that communist group takes over, we'll be bowing. If it may be at the pointed end of a gun, but the Chinese sure make their people bow to the communist regime over there, and Biden is. If you think he doesn't have a connection to the communist regime in China, I know you do, and I mean you realize the connection there. That we've got some. We could have some. I hope this conversation is totally not needed, because it would sure make my day if Trump just kicked the whatever out of Biden at the polls, and the battles that go on after that are just little skirmishes rather than the real thing as to whether or not Biden wins or loses, or Trump wins or loses. I'd sure like Trump to just prevail in the polls, and then be able to carry that prevalence or that prevailing all the way to another 4 years. That's my personal preference.
I actually think that Trump will win. And I think he'll win purposefully because they are. I also believe that the powers that be that are bigger than presidents are planning on. I mean, and I'm not making it up because I can read it. I can go to their websites, and they are the world organizers, basically.
World
and
Economic Forum.
they want to restart the currency. They want to devalue. They want to destroy the U.S. dollar. And in that they will destroy, they think they'll destroy capitalism. They'll destroy the love they think of capitalism that people have, and by making it crash when Trump is president, they can go, look, he's a capitalist conservative, and look what happened under capitalist conservatism. It all collapsed. We're all starving now. Everything failed, and it's all because of capitalism. And the Marxists just go, see, we were right all along. I mean, don't look at the Soviet Union, just look at us.
Yeah, or China.
But I think that they would not mind. I think to the global agenda, which again, I don't want to be conspiratorial, because you can go and look at. I'm not talking to you, Lee. I mean everyone.
Oh, no,
you can go and look it up. Everything that we're talking about, they're talking about it. Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, was talking today. He's at some big meeting right now where they're talking about starting the digital currency, a Fed coin. It's not going to be called Fed coin, I doubt. But they're talking about the European Union's doing it. The ECB, they're introducing it. I think this month or next month. The digital currency.
Trying to.
They want to have we'll all have a digital wallet where the Federal Reserve will just put money right into our account, a digital account. They'll get rid of all the cash, because cash can't be accounted for, and they'll just blame it on, there's two things. We can't have cash because it spreads the virus because you touch it too much. And also, it's still being used by terrorists. Cash is a terrorist weapon. So they'll use that to get rid of it. So on the left, you get rid of cash because they're scared of touching the dollar bill, and they'll get the coronavirus. On the right, they'll go along with it because they go, we can't help those terrorists. We got to do whatever we can to stop the terror. Terrorist, as our Benjamin Netanyahu would say.
Your drug cartels as well. Yeah.
Right, drugs, big drug. So I think to them, Trump being in power, when they pull the trigger on that, works out for them much better than Joe Biden being in power, because the conservatives, the libertarians, the people that know what's really going on, could point right to them and say that was all a socialist agenda. This failed because of socialism. And it'd be a lot harder for them to argue back on that.
Oh, absolutely. Have you ever heard of the Truth and Reconciliation Project? Goes back to about late 1920s.
I don't. It sure sounds familiar for some
Yeah, right.
Fill us in, Lee.
I'm not at all. I don't.
Oh,
have
okay.
A computer. I don't have a computer, but it's been referenced on some of the talk shows on KFAR here in the last week or so. Well, probably a lot longer than that, but I remember that. And apparently, it was updated. This project was updated in the '60s, and that the same mindset has a 2021 agenda. And you could Google it or whatever your.
So it's a progressive agenda?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Most assuredly.
Where you're supposed to apologize for something you never did?
Well, that's all.
Because it all ended before you were born?
Well, yeah. I mean, it started before we were born at least, but it's still going on. That's the sad part, because they've got a plan apparently for 2021. And,
okay.
So anyway, great show. Continue the battle, and we'll see the results sooner than we may want.
Well, hopefully we'll be here next week to say hello.
You're right. Yeah. I sure hope so, too. So keep smiling, and we'll compare notes again.
All right. Sounds good, Lee. Thank you.
Good day.
All right. If you want to join the conversation, of course, 907-458-8255. All the lines are open. But,
World Economic Forum. That's what you're bringing up there. Great reset. And there was going to have to be a reset anyway, because all the Western nations have overextended their finances to the point there's no way to pay them back, so they have to reset it. But if they were to allow it naturally, then all those people who are running the World Economic Forum would end up being blamed and would lose. They'd lose their fortunes. The whole idea of the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset that they plan to pilot is it's all about allowing the collapse to happen under their own under the guise of it being blamed on something else.
Right.
Because then they can be the saviors.
Trying to control the collapse.
See, they can be the saviors, and then they can be the rich ones, and then all of the poverty that would result from it would not be piled up on them. It would be piled up on their serfs. And it's the same, it's the communist story.
I was going to say, that sounds like communism to me.
It's the communist story. It absolutely is. It's designed to be that way.
Always. Something I wanted to mention too. Lee was saying that he hoped, Trump is elected, and that the violence or whatever that he's able to snuff it out quickly.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing what Lee said there, but one of the articles I was reading this morning from what is that? Big League Politics, and there's this orders project that is encouraging the military to stand down to the leftist terrorists after the election, and basically they're in fact I believe it's the National Guard Major General, Washington D.C. National Guard Major Adam DeMarco, a Democrat operative who ran unsuccessfully for U.S. Senate in Maryland in 2018, says here is exploiting his military bona fides to push a partisan agenda against President Trump, basically not to stop the mobs when they come out, and basically to disobey orders.
Okay. And yeah, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, would that put...
when they're coming to my house, it's a bad thing.
Well, would that put... for them, that's what I mean. Would that put property owners in the position where they're finally going to take the initiative to defend their own property?
Well, my feeling on that is that it's... just as we saw in Kenosha, anybody who does defend their property, and the same thing in Missouri with that couple that stood out there waving the guns, they get prosecuted.
Right, but we're in Alaska.
They were prosecuted. Oh yeah.
I just it seems to be. I agree. We're in Alaska, and we're north of Anchorage, so we don't have that issue there. But
well, I don't really see like what's going on in the other cities, big cities. We're not going to have riots in downtown Fairbanks. I mean, that sounds about as boring as it can get.
No, I mean,
are they going to burn down some old buildings that have been condemned for the last 20 years? The borough wants to burn down.
Yeah, even in Anchorage, I don't really see. I don't see big riots, or maybe any riots at all. There was a big BLM protest there a few months ago, and there was. I saw no reports of any looting or breaking of windows. It was just people marching, and that was it. But I mean, if someone else knows differently, they can call and let us know. But as far as I saw, there was none of that.
Yeah. Well, I was talking more of what's going to happen in the states, in D.C.
Oh yeah.
Just to sort of throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. Supposedly a lot of violence is being planned. At least that's what I'm hearing underneath.
Yeah, and the violence. It seems,
should Trump win?
Yeah, and well, the violence tends, at least that we hear about, it seems to be concentrated in areas that are blue. Seattle or Portland,
right.
And
pretty much all of California.
Right, where people don't have a culture of defending their own property, and they've been disarmed and defanged. And could that be, in a longer term, a good thing, in that people who actually want to produce and want to have a decent life finally leave, and those blue areas just end up abandoned and run down, and just left to rot. Like DC should be left to rot. DC should be left to rot.
They're definitely pouring out of New York City.
Yeah, they are.
And California.
You guys see that thing in France where they're getting ready to lock down Paris again, and their freeways are packed.
Yeah,
everyone's leaving Paris.
They wanted to get out of Paris, the city proper,
right,
to avoid that, because it's supposed to be a pretty drastic lockdown.
Yeah. And the people are tired of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I was watching a YouTube video by an Irishman this morning. I guess Ireland has some of the most, he says, it is the most severe lockdown in Europe conditions. And I guess, people are committing suicide left and right over there. Mothers killing their children, etc., and then committing suicide themselves because they just see no end to it.
Right.
They see no end to it. And, I guess they get so desperate that, that's instead of standing up and going out and, pillaging, or not pillaging, pillaring.
Revolting.
Yeah, against these politicians and against these non-elected medical tyrants.
Who are, again, doing things not based on any science whatsoever. I mean, when you have the biggest economy of all, the World Health Organization, do not do lockdowns. They don't work. They're having an adverse effect. We made a mistake there. I mean, they're actually admitting we made a mistake. Lockdowns are bad. Don't do lockdowns. What are all these things? I thought they were following the science.
Right.
No, they're tyrants.
It is.
It's all about being a bunch of tyrants. Because do we really think that Dunleavy doesn't know that it's a bunch of BS? Of course he does. Do you think that the governor of Michigan, what's her face there, or Minnesota,
Whitmer,
who is the worst of all of them, pretty much, you think that she doesn't know the truth? Of course she knows. The idiot Cuomo, of course he knows all about the thing. He knows who's in danger. He knows that it's less dangerous than the flu, except for people in their 70s with comorbidities. They all know these things. They all know that the lockdowns have destroyed economic activity. They all know that more people are dying from lockdowns than the coronavirus. They know all this stuff, and they know that none of the stuff they're doing is logical or scientific. They're doing it anyways.
Well, I think they have to double down on it.
Well, yeah,
otherwise
they have to now. Otherwise, they have to admit they're
wrong.
wrong. But the WHO did, so they could just say, well, we were just following science, we thought, and they screwed us up. By golly. They're doing it anyways. So why? That's what I want. Why?
Well,
they know
perhaps-
what's really going.
yeah.
You guys know that Dunleavy is recalling the legislature in to try to get an extension of his powers.
Well, he's been
You piece of
under a lot of
dog
pressure,
poop.
is my understanding, from outside groups that want statewide mask mandates,
Right.
and statewide lockdown.
Why doesn't he grow some guts and tell them to shove it?
Well, this. Oh, the cases.
He's the biggest pathetic wimp
You know.
I've ever seen. I mean, I want to
Yeah.
puke every time I watch him. You need to lose a little weight from vomiting, just watch Dunleavy. You'll get rid of it. You're already feeling sick. You just know if you can just get that bug out of your stomach, just watch 5 minutes of that jackass.
Well, you did. You did defend him when he came out there a few weeks ago, and when he was.
Yeah, when he does the right thing.
He did.
Encourage, like, come on, dude, let's
did.
go. And then it's like
But he still
2
had
steps
issues.
forward,
Yes.
4 steps back. I mean, he never really gets across the line, it seems like.
Right.
He talks one thing, and then you expect some action. Well, what's changed? Only thing that's changed is he's calling in the legislature to extend his powers.
You know, I know he's under a lot of pressure from these groups. We've got a lot of groups here in town. That
If I was
that are pushing
governor,
that
I
kind of
wouldn't
thing.
get pressure at all. I'd be like,
You know.
kick back, good to go.
Well,
I'd get a letter, and I'd be, toilet paper.
I wonder what the source of the pressure is.
That's-
What are they holding over his head?
That's a good question.
Is it state? Is it money for state funding?
And then
Is
again,
it-
why?
Well, I know
What's behind
there
it
are
all?
groups of medical practitioners that will write letters.
What's
they've
behind it?
signed. I saw some of those in the Anchorage Daily News. They were reporting on that a while ago. That they get a group of them together and go, "You must do that." We demand that you implement these policies and or mandates for the safety of the people, etc. And
Yeah.
Yeah, but why? They know it's not safe. That's what I'm asking. All these things, we know the science to it, so why are they doing it anyways? We got lots of phone calls. So let's hit those. Hello, caller, you are up next. Thanks for holding.
Hey guys, great program like always.
Thanks.
So the one thing I'm still hung up on the mask thing, and you guys are saying that they're using the mask to control us, and I think that they've already got control. I'm kind of looking at it from that perspective. So I mean, they're at the point now where they can come into our houses in the middle of the night and shoot us, and then go before a grand jury. And the grand jury says, "Oh, well, they had a warrant. They get to do that to us."
Right.
If that's not control, I don't know what is. And it's so much more. I mean, the mask is minuscule to me. I mean, I don't see it. Regardless of which side of the aisle you fall on, and what you think about the BLM movement, what happened to that Breonna Taylor girl? I believe was her name. It's evil.
Oh, absolutely. Those cops should be.
It's not okay.
Those cops should be up for murder.
The judge
Every
who
one
signed the
of them.
warrant should be held accountable.
Absolutely.
Everybody, the person that planned the operation, everything.
Top to bottom. I agree.
But when we're to that level of control, the masks they don't even register. And when you talk about control, try not paying your property tax.
I know.
And they're going to come take your property, and if you resist that, then they're going to shoot you also. They've got the control. So.
Well, I guess the reason I like to bring up the mask specific for myself is just because it's the one thing that you can actually resist without getting shot by the state at this time. It's the one thing you can show some sort of pushback and say, I am not going to follow the rule here. I am not going to do what you say here because I know it's wrong. My heart tells me it's wrong. My conscience tells me it's wrong. Everything I read says it's wrong. Don't tell me it's right. I'm going to finally push back. That's my whole thing with masks. It's the easiest way we've ever been. It's the easiest thing that's ever been presented to us to resist, for us to actually resist. And I look around, and it's worse now when I go to Walmart or wherever than it was 4 months ago. Everyone's got a mask. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? You can resist this. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. There's proof from everyone that says it doesn't work. What are you doing? Take the damn mask off. It's the one thing that you can push back on, and you can't even do that.
It's not a government mandate telling you to wear a mask in Walmart. It's just a Walmart policy, though, and that's they're a company.
It is mandates in other states, and people look at it and they go, "Oh my God, I got to be scared about this. I got to be." Well, these people say I have to do it, but they don't. It's not. Walmart doesn't even have a mandate to wear a mask in there. I go in there all the time, and no one says a dang thing. I go to Costco, and no one says anything.
They don't care enough. What they're trying to do is make the other customers that are scared feel more comfortable. Well, what I think that they're doing. Yeah. So, like when you walk by and the mask sign is out, we require a mask inside, and then they don't say anything. They just Walmart, Fred Meyer's and they just don't want problems. They don't want to have to. They don't want to deal with the crap. And if they didn't have the sign up to say, "Hey, wear a mask," and get people to wear a mask, then they'd be dealing with people giving them problems for not requiring masks. There are people out there that think that, and smart, intelligent people that think that masks work. I've got friends that work at the hospital that they deal with COVID patients all the time, and they say, listen, I mean, I wear a mask and I don't have COVID, and they're working with people that have COVID constantly. They also say, though, that they're trained on how to use the mask. They use a certain type of mask, and the best thing they do, I think, is wash their hands. That's what works. If you look at it from a different point of view, like where I'm looking at it, and I think the government's got control of us. That's and it sucks. I don't like it a bit. I hate it. But if you resist too much, they're going to kill you.
Yep. That's why I just want some resistance on the one thing they've said so far, that we won't shoot you if you do this.
Okay, but if you look at it like they've already got control, and take ourselves back to April or March, February, wherever this was when it started, and I was up north at the time, so I mean I was looking at this from a distance. It was different. But if they say, hey, we've got this pandemic coming. Remember, the government they can't control a virus. They can't do it. Nothing can control a virus. Exactly. A virus is a virus.
Yeah.
And so a panicked population is harder to control than a non-panicked population. When they first come out and people were going kind of buggy. Hey, we got to, this could be a bit. We didn't know much about it at the time. We didn't have any personal experience. We didn't know people that had COVID. All we heard was what we heard was on the news, and people are dying everywhere in China. They're welding them in their apartments. They're not letting them out. This is good. This could be a big deal. And the other people are looking like, hey, these people might be kind of hard to control. Give them something. Give them a sense of community, a sense of something, and a sense of safety. And they say, hey, wear this mask, and we'll all pull together, and we'll beat this thing together. The mask doesn't make sense to me, but unless you look at it from that perspective, where the government's like, hey, we're going to give you this sense of power where we can all band together and make this happen. Because
it's a false sense of power, of course, because they don't work.
Absolutely,
yeah. The whole thing, there's more to it than that. But it doesn't work. They're lying to us, and we're accepting it.
I don't see where they've ever said it works. Like I've heard newscasters say it and stuff like that.
Fauci's the medical god. Mm-hmm. He even said we need to wear goggles.
Yeah, well, I think what he's looking at it, and I can understand, and I think Duke University did a study where the people that are wearing this mask, the particles only go out 3 feet, and the other, let's just say, like if you look at like a hose around you, like a circumference, but what is it when you double the diameter of a water hose, you quadruple the volume, right?
Oh, right.
Okay, so, like if you're the center of this hose and you've got a 3-foot circle around you as opposed to a 6-foot circle around you, there's quadruple the amount out there that you could put out there. And I believe, and I don't know this for certain, but even a cloth mask, obviously the COVID, the whatever it is, can go through that mask very easily, but it doesn't go out as far. And that part of the science I can understand where it stops COVID transmission, but it says it helps prevent the transmission of COVID, and I can understand that because there's not as big circle around you that it gets to, I guess. It's harder to transmit.
Right.
Or it slows
but
transmission.
Then, of course, you can get... see, I've not actually read anything scientific journal that has said any of what you just said. I've seen people say that. I've watched people on TV say that, but I've never read anything in some scientific... But I can go and pull up 100 articles in 3 seconds from the other side of scientific journals, scientific studies that went on for decades and decades, and they never stop. They're always doing it. And they all say masks don't do jack crap for a virus. You can't stop the virus. And you're making people sick by making them wear the mask and making them think that they're protecting themselves when they're actually, it's the exact opposite. They're not protecting themselves from anything. And in fact, they're showing that 85% you're more likely to get the virus because you're not getting fresh oxygen, which is one of the things they say we all need. Which obviously we're humans, we need oxygen. Yeah. More likely, 85% of the people that have coronavirus, supposedly, even though there's a 70% chance that it's a false positive. So, I mean, the whole thing is a flipped out world. What are we even talking about with cases? But anyways, 85% of them have coronavirus that always or almost always wear masks. The people that say, I never wear a mask,
because the
2%.
masks don't prevent it. The masks
right.
won't,
I know, that's what I'm saying. Why are we lying to people and trying to make them think that it's working?
Of all the things to think about the government lying is masks. The government lies all the time.
About everything, I know, but I don't want to look at someone in the store wearing a mask show me that they believe a lie. I'm sick of it. Right. Resist. Pull the mask off. Lying's evil. Pull the mask off. Don't go along with it. That's all I'm saying. There's one thing we can push back. It's a lie. It's a government lie. So let's push back.
And
not go along with them.
I hear those government
because where does
fellas
it
doing that.
Stop? Now it's like, you don't got your mask, you're not social distancing in your house when it's Christmas and you have more than 2 families. We're going to come in there and shut you down.
Right.
You can't even take the mask off. And then, what drives me nuts is people are going, when they come in my house for Christmas.
Back up a little bit. The fact that they can come into your house and shut you down, that is the control right there. The mask isn't it. The mask is nothing.
Oh, I know. The mask is nothing, and they can't even take them off. That's what irks me.
It's a mindset.
There's no way you're gonna push, and I'm not talking about you, caller. There's no way people are gonna push back and I'm not saying it's going to happen here during Christmas, but it is going to happen in places, supposedly the free West, across the world, where they're going to be coming into people's houses during Christmas because they have too many people there, or they were singing too loud, or they met for more than 2 hours. These are all rules, and they said it's Target Liberty's got a big story on it. In the UK, they said, we will have to come into your house and break it up and send you home. Send people back. We will come into your homes and break this up. In a Western democracy, they're going to do that. And no one's going to push back because they can't even take off a damn mask.
And there'll be people die if they do. They will get shot. The government will kill you.
I know. But
it's horrible.
If you're ever going to push back, I'm just saying it seems to me at least a mask is something. When you see someone not wearing a mask, when I go in a store and see someone not wearing a mask,
compared to what we're faced against, honestly. I mean,
I know. That's what's so pathetic to me. It's so small potatoes, and people can't even not do that. So it makes me know that if you can't even push back on this one thing, you're sure as heck not going to push back when it counts.
Well,
because masks don't even count. They don't count for anything. They're not shooting us for it. They're not doing it. They're a lie, and we're going along with it. That's not good for your psyche to know that something's a lie and to go along with it anyways, to tell yourself, well, I'm doing this for the betterment of humanity. No, you're not. It doesn't work.
And the only way the government is able to do that is by your neighbors narking on you.
Well,
turning you in.
There's support from the broader community at large. Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Some commissioner in the UK said that's the most important thing they need is for neighbors to turn in their news. But we got to go, guys. Hey, thanks for calling, caller. I appreciate it.
Have a good one, guys.
Good talk, and we'll be right back after the news. And we'll get to the other callers. I promise.
I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. With only 3 days until the election, the presidential campaigns have their schedules jam-packed with events in key swing states. President Trump with 4 events in Pennsylvania today, beginning with a rally in Newtown and saying the Democrats have betrayed the Keystone State.
For decades, they targeted your steel mills, shut down your plants, and sent millions of your jobs overseas, all while lining their pockets with special interest cash. And no one embodies this betrayal and treachery more than Joe Biden.
The president also campaigning in Reading, Butler, and Montoursville, Pennsylvania today. Vice President Pence is in North Carolina. Former VP Joe Biden is in Michigan with a drive-in rally in Flint to start the day, followed by another in Detroit. Biden being joined by former President Barack Obama.
Even before Barack Obama, who did not play in the primaries, endorsed Joe Biden, the campaign was wallpapering TV and online ads with photos of the two of them up close and personal. Today, the Biden campaign's schedule is showing us these 2 stops today in Michigan, then 2 days in Pennsylvania, underscoring the value of those 20 electoral votes to the Biden campaign's path to 270. The Biden message has been very consistent since day one. He continues campaigning to unify the country and restore dignity to the Oval Office.
Fox's Peter Ducey. French police say a Greek Orthodox priest has been shot in the city of Lyon. Officials say the priest, who is a Greek citizen, is being treated for life-threatening injuries at a hospital after he was shot by a lone attacker with a hunting rifle. Police are still searching for the shooter. It happened just 2 days after an Islamic extremist knife attack at a Catholic church in the French city of Nice that killed 3 people. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Adam Wool. Kevin McKinley and his special interest backers are running a misleading smear campaign and saying things that just aren't true. The truth is, I voted for new tough-on-crime legislation to punish sex offenders and keep murderers behind bars, and also increase penalties for theft and C felonies. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Alaska State Troopers, firefighters, and public safety workers. I've supported budget increases to public safety, and I support reducing recidivism. I'd rather invest in schools than build new prisons. Which is why Kevin McKinley is running such a misleading campaign. He wants to distract you from his support for crippling cuts to UAF. While I've been fighting hard to reverse the cuts and bring jobs back to Fairbanks, Kevin admitted he supports the cuts UAF has taken over the last 5 years, and he supports cutting UAF even more. No wonder he'd rather make up things about me than stick to the issues. I'm Adam Wool. You can count on me to keep fighting for UAF and Fairbanks jobs and for public safety. Remember, vote Wool, no Bull.
Paid for by Adam Wool for State House.
Don't let anyone tell you differently. 2020's global pandemic devastated Fairbanks. Unemployment, crime, decreased funding at UAF. Throughout it all, legislative leadership failed us. That's why August's primary saw record incumbent defeats. Representative Adam Wool is the poster child for legislative failure. Wool was lenient on sex offenders, property crimes, and drug offenses. He chose criminals over victims. Wool helped lead a House majority that closed caucuses and met privately. He wasn't transparent. Don't let the wool be pulled over your eyes again. Fairbanks can do better with real leadership. Kevin McKinley can lead Fairbanks back into prosperity. He'll be here for Fairbanks because he's one of us. Let's get leadership back. Vote Kevin McKinley for State House. Paid for by Alaskans for Kevin McKinley, Fairbanks.
In 1982, Governor Jay Hammond signed the permanent fund dividend into law. Robert Myers believes the legislature should obey that law and pay every Alaskan a full PFD. When the borough voted on paying a full PFD, here's what Marna Sanford said.
Quite frankly, I don't care what Jay Hammond said. His time is past. Let's not just throw money out there. Let's not just throw money away.
Wow. Don't elect Marna to represent you. Vote for Robert Myers. He'll fight in Juneau for your PFD.
Paid for by Myers for Alaska.
Dan Sullivan claims to be independent, but he doesn't tell you that he has voted 97% of the time with his party. Dan Sullivan says of course he opposes Pebble Mine, but he doesn't tell you that as DNR commissioner he permitted it, and the Pebble CEO says they can count on Sullivan after the election. Dan Sullivan now says of course he favors covering pre-existing conditions, but he doesn't tell you the fact that he voted 3 times to repeal the law that enables Alaskans to be covered for all of their pre-existing conditions. He called rural Alaska the very soul of our state, and then, of course, voted for cuts to rural hospitals. Nor does Sullivan mention that his same votes would have thrown 62,000 Alaskans off of their current health coverage. We need an independent senator who puts Alaska ahead of his party.
Paid for by Independent Alaska, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. IndependentAK.com. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
We be back. Three more days till the empire votes for its new dictator. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if there's going to be all the violence or if that's all hoopla and poopla, but you read this, you read that. This person says, oh, if this guy wins, it's going to be hell on earth and we're going to burn it all down. But if this guy wins, we're going to still burn it all down because we're here to burn it down.
Well, yeah, there's always rumors about how bad something's going to be here real soon, and it just doesn't pan out. I remember, was it 17? It was after Trump was inaugurated. No, it was October 2017. There was supposed to be a whole bunch of Antifa riots. Never happened. There's all sorts of big talk about it. Not one riot.
The only thing that I am pretty for sure as far as the future is concerned, well, let's say politically. Let's say in this earthly world that we're living in. There's other things I'm sure of that will happen in the future, but politically right now, the one thing that I kind of bank on happening is the great economic reset is definitely going to happen because all of the world's central banks are in unison to do this. It's not a rogue bank that's like, hey, we should try this. In the power elite, really, if you think about it, they have to do it because the wealth that they have in cash is going to be worth nothing. You can't be a billionaire if the dollars that you're holding on to aren't worth a penny. That's kind of hard. But if you can reset the money, save your money, so it's still fake, but you still have the purchasing power because you reset it all and redo it all. That's the one thing. And plus, the central banks will be able to magically get rid of debts. They're just going to cancel all these debts. You won't have to worry about your taxes. We've talked about that. They're going to automatically do the taxes. There'll be a universal basic income for everyone. Everyone will have a bank account. That is going to happen. Cash is going away, and a digital currency is coming to the world. I don't think it's going to be one world currency yet. It'll be several. You'll have your European ECBs. You'll have your Federal Reserve notes, the yuan. All these countries, several of the countries are already pushing it out slowly, using it, playing with it.
In China doing that now?
Yeah.
So they're well on the way.
They're definitely going to do that.
And it'll
no matter who's president.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with those guys that think they have power. It has everything to do with the people that actually run the show.
Yeah, and it'll happen in Europe. It'll happen in Europe before it happens here, because it'll.
Well, they're rolling it out now.
Yeah, they're rolling. Yeah, their plan is, I think it was January. They want to have it. They want to have it ready to go, and that may be why they're pushing their World Economic Forum meeting back till the spring, is to see how it's going, how the introduction is going, and then the official plan is their plan is, like you said, it's to introduce the universal basic income, and they'll cancel all debts. But if when you sign on to those, that's the agreement that you will take their vaccines, and you won't be able to travel unless you have their vaccine certificates and all of that, and you'll get your universal basic income. But if you look at like the Soviet Union, people didn't just get free money. They had to go to work. They worked for the state entities, and so you'll have to go to work for the factory that makes only left-handed shoes.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that.
They did the minimum for that money.
You will have to go to work to support the state entity. It's not going to be some paradise where you just get $1,500 a month and you can sit on your butt.
Dad, burn it.
You are going to have to work for the state corporations.
Never going to get to retire then. Let's hit the phones. We got guys that have been waiting. Hello, caller. You're up next. Thanks
Hey,
for holding.
I just want to encourage everyone to stay home and do something productive with their time this election season.
Right on.
Because all these advertisements are giving me one heck of a headache.
Oh my gosh! Don't they make you want to throw up? It's amazing. And these things are intense. These are
It's a good thing. I almost want to go out and shoot myself. But not quite.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Not quite. No, I ain't wearing a mask, and I'm unmasking places whenever I can.
Right on. Right
Anyway,
on.
keep up the good work. Thank you much for the program, and have a good afternoon.
Hey, appreciate your calling and listening.
Stay home. Don't vote.
That's right. Do something worthwhile. Make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I like that guy. I like all the callers.
Yeah, they're all cool.
That was good. Hello, caller. You are up next. Thanks for holding for us.
Hey, not meaning to backtrack. And if you guys don't mind,
go ahead.
Talking about the mass exodus from the city, that it is actually part of the Agenda 21 population reduction plan.
Uh-huh.
The idea is to disperse a lot of the city's population away from the cities in rural areas. Make it told. It's actually outlined in the Agenda 21 plan. So I don't know necessarily if it's part of that plan, and also increase taxes so exponentially higher in
the
city, push everyone out as further incentive to push them out. But it is absolutely part of the plan. So the issue is the 5G, and Agenda 21 being in the forefront of the push. I believe that has a lot to do with it. What are your guys' opinions on that?
I absolutely agree. I mean, yeah. We've been talking about Agenda 21 since I first ever heard about it, probably 10 years ago. And it's 2021.
Well, yeah, and they had that biodiversity treaty that they tried to push through in the Clinton era. That they wanted to force everyone into the cities, into the larger cities, and then make the countryside off limits. But yeah, that was just part of it.
Well,
the mask thing I'm not familiar with in there.
And didn't they push 2021 or Agenda 21? They basically, I thought they kind of pushed it back to Agenda 30, and because things weren't really rolling smoke the way they were hoping for, downhill wise, anyways. But I think that this COVID-19 has opened up such an opportunity for them that they've never had in history. That'll and this is just my personal beliefs, okay? So I think that it gives them a massive opportunity they could never have to enslave the entire world at one shot.
Yeah.
And I call it enslavement. Other people will say, oh, it's just getting along, or, diversity and unity. Unity in our diversity and all that kind of stuff. It's world enslavement. When they control the currency like they're going to control it, I mean, we're already a bunch of, slaves to our masters as far as them milking us for everything we got. But this has introduced, like you said with the Agenda 21, I think that the virus has opened up Agenda 21 to come back and roaring. They don't got to wait till 30. They see an opportunity now, and they're going to take advantage of it. And again, this isn't coming from Josh Bennett. I've read them say all of these things, just like I'm sure you've read about Agenda 21. They're blatant about it. They're
not afraid.
No, not at all anymore. I mean, it used to be like conspiracy theory because they'd never talk about it, right? No, they don't care if you know. What are you going to do about it?
When you see Klaus Schwab do that video, in 10 years you will own nothing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And you will be happy about it.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Just out of curiosity.
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Coworker.
I know how they can be.
So, my last question for you guys. So, when they start reclassifying firearms under the Federal Firearms Act of 1934, what are your guys' plans for any or all of your firearms that now are reclassified as, assault weapons? Because they not only do they want to outlaw the AR-15, AR-10 platforms, but they also want to just outlaw any semi-automatic firearm. I mean, even in consideration with firearms that I own, I own an old Browning Model 1000 20 gauge semi-automatic shotgun. It's a hunting shotgun. I mean, it's got a 24, 26-inch barrel on it, and it's specifically for hunting, but it's semi-auto, so that's even going to be considered under their reclassification. I mean, what are your guys' plans for anything that you have that'll be reclassified?
Oh, anything that is made illegal by my government for my weapons, I will definitely turn in immediately. No questions asked.
I would too, but mine were lost in a boating accident last year.
There's going to be more boating accidents than mankind's ever known.
Or I left all my firearms in my truck last night.
Somebody stole it.
Or I stole them, and I don't have any record of transactions.
Anything I got left, I'm going to turn it in, though, because I'm law-abiding.
Yeah. The sarcasm leaches from your voice so heavily.
No, I'm telling the truth. Some things you just don't talk about.
Yeah, right.
It's
like Epstein. It's like Epstein.
Right?
I'll compromise and just turn in the ammunition.
There you go.
One round at a time.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, bye. All right, we got a few more minutes here, about 15, not quite. So if you want to call in, we've got the lines open, 907-458-8255. 3 days away. I always look forward to elections just so they'll be over. I'm actually looking forward to this one so it'll be over. Mm-hmm. See what's on the other side.
So you gave your opinion, Josh. You think Trump is going to win. Mm-hmm. What about you, Michael?
Well, if they don't cheat the election, then I think definitely he would win. I think
that's the big if, though.
I'm kind of on the fence. I'm kind of on the fence, but I think he's still going to win. And I don't know. Maybe it's all planned out this way. Maybe this is the way that they bring out all the Trump voters.
Well, no, yeah, this is I don't believe in voting working. It's one of the reasons I've never voted. Well, I did vote for myself once, but that's how it is when you're a politician. Yeah, I was so greedy. I wouldn't even vote for someone. I just voted.
I voted against you. I remember that.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
You're the reason.
You and Aaron. Yeah, that's the sole reason, I'm sure.
You didn't want him corrupted.
You're that one vote that Randy always talks about.
I was a big statist at that time, for sure.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Huh, that's funny. Well,
that's just before we met, actually.
Okay. So. Well, I don't believe that elections are decided by voting. I don't think they have for quite a while. Mm-hmm. No one is put into power by accident in the United States of America at the position of the President of the United States, which is the most powerful position, supposedly. Mm-hmm. The most powerful public position in the world is the United States President. Ain't no way that they're letting Joe Blow, Joe Sixpack, and pink-haired bell-bottom vote in who that person is. Mm-hmm. He's chosen, and they're all chosen for different reasons. Like Rick, you pointed out earlier, they all hang around. They're all buddies. They get on the stage and they go, "Bad man orange, orange man bad, Sleepy Joe gonna kill us all. Can you even get through a debate without falling asleep?"
Yeah.
And then they go have a drink.
Right.
Yep.
They tell us, wear your mask, do this, you can't get your hair wet, and they get caught doing all the same things. They're all buddies. Mm-hmm. They're all buddies. How come Biden isn't in freaking prison if all this stuff's true?
It's the old George Carlin thing. It's a big club and you ain't in it.
How come Hillary Clinton's not in prison if all this stuff's about her is true? None of them go to prison because they're all buddies and they're all compromised. Mm-hmm. And your vote doesn't work. I truly believe that. It doesn't matter. They put in who they want to where they think will make the outcome to the best of their advantage for what they have planned. And I think their best advantage is to destroy capitalism. I don't think that Trump is some big capitalist guy. I think he's going right along with it. He's a billionaire. Come on. They're all buddies. Buddies need, I mean, how comes they're, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck, folks. Go vote. Do whatever you want to do. It's a waste of freaking time. If it isn't, prove me wrong if it's not, for the last 50 years at least, how voting's been working. And don't tell me it's because we're not voting hard enough or you're not voting more than once. Mm-hmm. It's all that. I think it's just like with all the scams and the steal the election. I think it's all BS. All of it is.
Even down to the local level?
No, I think local levels cheat like it's going out of style. I've seen it. I think they love it. They just don't have the sophistication that the bigwigs have in the national level.
Well, that's where they get their practice.
Yeah.
You have to start out as boss hog.
Oh, yeah, you can't just walk in there with,
Yeah.
You got to crawl before you walk.
Right.
Let's hit the phones. Boy, I'm full of cheer today. Hello, caller, you're up next.
Yeah, are you wearing your cheerleader costume?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I left it at home. I didn't want to get attacked. You don't know what side of town I got to hang out at when I come into the station.
Hey, another plan for when they come looking for your guns, and if they just knock at the door rather than knock the door down and bowl their way right in, you can tell them that you've only got one gun, and it's an AR-14, and you've never seen where that's been outlawed ever anywhere in the United States. You're familiar with Joe Biden's comment about
Yeah.
Well, that was what that was pointed at, and it was definitely tongue-in-cheek, most assuredly. Well, what is it?
I remember that now.
Where do you think the this dumping of massive millions of dollars into the state of Alaska's local campaigns, coming from the billionaires that we're so fond of, their attempt to taking over the Senate and the House?
Yeah, for sure.
I contend that's pretty obscene, in my opinion. But it's what they do. I think that's fairly a new tactic. It isn't new because there's been some big donors on the left doing it for quite a while, and but it's bearing them some fruit, I'm afraid, and we'll just see how gullible the people that are going to vote are when they tally the votes from this coming shot at it, because there's a lot of money going in against the right wing people that are, whether they're incumbents or not. It's obscene what they're saying.
Soros has landed on thick this year for sure.
Oh, but yeah, he's gaining supporters from his cronies, and but you're right, Soros is. But he's been just bad news for so long, but he's becoming pretty accepted, and he's certainly having an effect. Even on the places where you elect DAs, he's massively working on that. How do you think they get away with they if they even arrest these looters, they turn them loose the same night so they can go back and do some more looting?
Well, old George Soros has come a long way since his days as a Nazi youth.
Yes, he has. Yes,
he's staying on that path. I'm proud of him.
Well,
I got a text. Excuse me, I got a text a couple days ago, and it said, "Joshua, help us stop the outside money influence that is wrecking Alaskan politics." Rah, 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 rah. And I was like,
yeah.
I was getting ready to delete it, and then I looked at the number again. And it was like it was an outside, it wasn't a 907 number. So I wrote him back and I said, "Aren't you an outside money influence? You're not even in Alaska."
Yeah.
They never wrote back.
Yeah, it was a 906.
906.
Yeah.
They didn't get back to you on that.
No.
Yeah, well, that's just like this Prop 2 is such a crock of crap that. But boy, I'll tell you, you just go around and see all the signs that are up. Vote yes on 2. Vote yes on 2. My God, I mean, can they read? I don't know.
I actually haven't seen that as much.
No, but wherever you do see it,
yeah,
it seems to go in neighborhoods. You drive out Farmers Loop Road, and there's a couple clusters of those kind of signs, and they all seem to live fairly close together. And I even know one of the people that's on that bench, and I've known her since I was in diapers, and we're still friends, but we sure don't share politics. So keep smiling and keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thanks.
You bet. Bye.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Lee. Have a good day.
You know, I was wondering about that. It's been something like, I think, $8 trillion so far that they've signed into law to pass out to
This
people.
year. Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is $300 billion has gone directly to payments to people. What happened to the rest of that money?
I know, trillions.
What happened to the rest of that money?
Just like 2008 again?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Oh, absolutely. Trillions of dollars. Trillions. And the 330 million people in America got about 300 billion.
Yeah.
Well, they all know there's going to be a great reset, that it's all collapsing. So why not just hand out, ridiculous sums of money for the last party, the last hurrah, before they all own nothing and are happy about it?
I think it's just it's too quick. I don't know. Well, they are to themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, they're buying up properties like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I just don't see.
They're trading their dollars for actual wealth.
How this great reset is going to work. I mean, Martin Armstrong says it's not going to work.
It'll work like East Germany.
But yeah, I mean, if everybody has a basic income,
right?
Okay, so everybody gets $1,000 basic income. That's like zero.
It can't work.
That's like zero.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, if someone who is rich is not, if everyone has $1 million,
no one's a millionaire.
Then you're not rich if you're a millionaire.
That's right.
If everyone has $1 billion, you're not rich because you're a billionaire.
Right.
It's all relative to what other people
because
have. It's
the products the dollars chasing the goods.
Yeah.
Causes the price of those goods to go up.
Right. I got $100 trillion Zimbabwe dollar at my house, but
Yeah.
no one will give me squat for
That's
it.
why I just don't see how this UBI can work in any way.
I
It
don't
might
think
work
that it
short term for a short period before the inflation just skyrockets.
Yeah,
But-
it'll work. It'll work shortly before there's an equilibrium that's reached. And
Right,
the equilibrium will make everyone just as poor as if they were not working at all, not receiving anything.
That's the whole deal with this stupid $15 an hour living wage.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, well, make it 50, make it 100, make it 1,000.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah.
It's just like clearly, you can't have any conception of where money comes from or what it is.
Or what it is, especially. Yeah.
No. Well, their whole idea
And what
is
printing it does to it. And
yeah.
Their whole idea is they want it. They're pushing this idea. Like here's a TED talk up on YouTube about, and this is glorifying it. It's entitled "Own Nothing, Have Everything," and the girl talks about how you will own nothing, and there will be no privacy, and you'll appreciate it. I mean, this is like pushing East Germany with a.
You know why you'll appreciate it?
With a bow
because
on
you'll
it.
have that vaccine and the happy juice will be in that.
Yeah.
I love everything.
Yeah.
Give me another tattoo with that.
Double down. Yeah.
It's terrible. Well, we got a minute left here. Yeah, who knows what we're going to see. Hopefully we'll be here next week. The only way I'd see would not be is if like there really is a catastrophe, people burning stuff down, but I don't see that happening here. You know, I do worry about, enough catastrophe where there's a martial law or something, even though they don't really have to because they have so much power without it. I've read quite a bit about it.
I've seen where the Texas governor is calling out the National Guard.
Already.
The Washington governor, I believe, is as well. In anticipation of festivities.
Yep. And there's stuff around here that you can see where they've been, but I won't get into that because we're out of time. So, folks, we'll see you next week. Stay safe. And like the one caller said, just stay home. It's the one time you can socially distance is during election day. Go home and chill out. make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and be back with us next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. We sure appreciate it. Stay safe.
Fox News, I'm Ann Carrick. Another attack at a church in France. A Greek Orthodox priest shot in Lyon while closing the church. Tensions remain high after publication of caricatures mocking Muslim prophet Mohammed.
French President Emmanuel Macron's subsequent